Hi guys, it's Matt. Welcome to the video. I am a compulsive gambler in recovery and I'm your mind and movement mentor here to help you. So in this video, I want to continue to explore the link between addiction, in particular gambling addiction, and ADHD. I myself am fully diagnosed with ADHD. I have been for a number of years. And the question I ask is, do ADHDers get addicted faster than neurotypical people? And in my experience, I think the answer is probably yes, and I'll explain why. In my gambling recovery, I look for peer support. I've met some really great people through this channel, through others, through the communities that I'm in. The more I get into that, the more neurodivergent people I find, which is always a good thing because we tend to get on very, very well. But I think the numbers would definitely align. And I think there's a number of different reasons for this. I think the nature of ADHD is to be very impulsive. It's often can be linked to low level dopamine in the brain. So the feeling of kind of wanting to spike that, so being more attracted to novel experience, exhilarating stimulus, that kind of thing. And obviously the highs of addiction dovetail to that in a number of different ways. I think when I think back to my early gambling memories, I would go to the football with my dad, and 13, 14 years old, he might have let me place a £1 bet on the first goal scorer in the game that we were watching. And I remember once watching West Ham and Paolo Di Canio was playing. That's how long ago this was. And I had £1 on him to score first, I think 8 or 9 to 1. And I just remember thinking, will he do it? Will he start? Will he play? What happens if he gets injured? Could he do it? I'm just watching the game and it being such a turbocharged experience that it was just absolutely thrilling. And on that day, he did actually score the first goal. And it's one of my earlier memories of gambling. And it wasn't so much that I was £8 or £9 that I'd won was all the money in the world to me. It was more that I'd called it. It had happened what I said was going to happen. There was the build up and everything from before the match to the match to when he got the goal. And I've managed to multiply my money by 8 or 9 times. Just like, wow, this is just amazing. And what we know about addiction is often we have certain experiences that can be at a young age. Often people that go down a bad road with addiction have a very good, inverted commas, good experience at the start. And that's always in your mind's eye, and then you're almost kind of like euphorically recalling that experience, which is something I've talked about in other videos, where your brain will overemphasize just how good it was and misweight it. And you're trying to get back to that feeling, which physiologically you can't do because the addiction curve is a slow kind of descent of diminishing return. And like I say, you actually physiologically and biologically, you can't actually go back to replicating that. But your brain, and certainly the addicted mind, would have you believe that you can. And so there's that kind of thing that just really would have appealed to me as an ADHDer. All the novel stimulus, dopamine, thrill, whatever you want to call it, going on, dovetailing into my love of sport. Can set you on a dark path for wanting to be kind of wired in that way. So I think there's all the brain chemical stuff that definitely makes it more likely. But there's also another flip side to it that really kind of makes it more likely as well. And that is that I know this in myself, and when I speak to other neurodivergent people on the spectrum, they can relate to this, that certainly with ADHD, there's a thinking of like boom and bust type cycles. When things are going well, they're going really well. But there is times where you can be kind of flat, agitated, much higher risk of things like anxiety and depression, very sort of low ebb and low mood. And if you research ADHD, you'll find something called like emotional dysregulation, which is where you struggle to control your emotions. I know this can definitely happen for me and it's massively exaggerated if I don't lead a particularly good lifestyle. So I miss my exercise and I don't have that outlet for endorphins and stress relief through that. If I'm eating lots of processed foods, in particular sugar, fruit juices, high carbohydrate foods, that's not doing anything for me mentally. If I'm in a poor sleep schedule, I'm going to bed late, I'm fuzzy thinking, I'm waking up tired, I'm going to bed tired, I'm foggy, that kind of thing. And there is a feeling that it can be kind of quite a burden life, and therefore you go to seek things outside of yourself to become coping strategies because you don't particularly enjoy your baseline life experience. So you want to change that. What changes that fastest? Things that give you kind of a thrill in the moment, you know, like adrenaline stimulation, that kind of thing. You know, and there's the impulsivity side of things as well. You know, as an addicted gambler, I can relate many times to kind of, can I afford this bet? No. Is it going to potentially put me in debt if I lose? Yes. Is that going to cause a problem in the upcoming weeks, months, years? Potentially, yes. But it doesn't matter. I'm here in the now and I want to feel good in the now, and I'm getting excited by the idea of placing this bet now and what that can do for me and what that will lead to, the paths if I win. I'm not thinking with any consequential like thinking. I'm thinking very short term as opposed to medium to long term, and thinking about any kind of ripple based effects, negative effects. I'm just focusing on the now. That's another classic one with ADHD. You know, as is the other kind of statement that gets banded around is, you know, the executive dysfunction, which is the finding it quite hard to do mundane tasks, you know, not having much of a logical brain to do things like wash the car or do a tax return or something like that. You're not particularly stimulating, just kind of hard to be on time for things and be punctual because you kind of lose track of time. You know, and again, that kind of comes under the umbrella of it can be very challenging to live with ADHD. And there's certain things that can really frustrate you about that. And then you want to go looking to escape outside of yourself. And then you go to the vices, the sex, the drugs, the rock and roll, the gambling that provide that immediate high. And that in many ways you get mixed up with those kind of things for long enough, it becomes a real gateway into addiction and into kind of locking into those pathways in the mind of being an addict. So just some kind of personal anecdotes and experience from my side. I think I was definitely a compulsive gambler before I found out I had ADHD. Things made a bit more sense once I found out after that I was fully diagnosed. And I say I can't speak for other people, but I know a lot of people who I speak to in gambling recovery circles are not on all cases, but are often on the spectrum as well in different ways. And I just don't think that's a coincidence. I think there is a positive correlation there. And the ones that maybe aren't officially definitely can be privy to some ADHD-like traits. So certainly don't think that all compulsive gamblers have got ADHD and all ADHDers are compulsive gamblers. I'm not, you know, naive enough to sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, and think of it like that. But I do definitely think that there is a positive correlation, and the more we learn about the neurodivergent conditions, the more we find how that is quite a sinister dovetail into the way the addicted mind works. I know that was definitely the case for myself. So thanks for watching again. If this is something that you enjoy, these topics, please feel free to share this with someone who you know might find this information useful. I talk about all things problem and compulsive gambling, a topic I am incredibly passionate about, something that I only see getting worse over time. And by sharing and commenting and liking the video, subscribing to the channel, you just help me reach more people, which I'm very, very grateful for. Thanks so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Take care.